Age of Giants. According to ancient narrations, their height reached 70 meters. The earth was harsh. Life was wild, and only the strong survived. And in that age, the first prophet born on earth came, Sheeth alayhi salam. He was not only a guide, he knew alchemy. He worked with metals, transformed them, and built humanity's first weapons of defense. Because in front of him was the people of Qabil, a wild community with no limits, lost in zina and entertainment. But what truly made him strong was not his weapons. It was the laduni knowledge he received from Adam alayhi salam. He could feel what was unseen. He could read signs about the future. And he spoke directly with angels. The greatest trust also passed through him. The Noor of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was part of that chain of light. And that light passed through the forehead of Sheeth alayhi salam. Special knowledge written into human history comes from his time. That is why his name lives not only in Islam, but also in different civilizations. Some describe him as a prophet, some as a wise man. You are watching Religion Time Official. We continue our prophet series. Do not miss it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write in the comments which country you are watching from. If you're ready, let's begin. Forget everything for a moment. The history you know, the books you read, the timelines you learned, and ask yourself this question. At the very beginning of humanity, in those early ages, when the world was still forming, what kind of beings were people? Were they like us today? The answer? No, not really. There were giants. These people were stronger and used to harsher conditions than us. They were taller and much more powerful.
In Lebanon, in the north of the Bekaa Valley, there is a small village. Its name is Nabi Sheeth. It means the village of Prophet Sheeth. And there is a tomb that has been visited for centuries. This is not an ordinary tomb. It is about 60 to 70 meters long. 70 meters? A human grave. Compare this size today. An average human grave is around 2 meters. So that tomb in Lebanon is about 35 times longer than a normal grave. For centuries, people looked at this tomb and asked the same question. What kind of human could this huge grave belong to? Mythology and folk beliefs always gave the same answer: giants. But the truth may be more interesting than mythology. In the earliest periods of human history, environmental conditions were very different from today. The atmosphere was different, there were changes in gravity, the magnetic field was stronger than today, and most importantly, the people of that time did not have a weakened genetic structure like today. Their genetic pool was still fresh. The human body was still at full capacity. People living in mountain conditions were also shaped by a different kind of pressure. Harsh climate, rough land, wild animals, heavy physical work, all of this pushed the body. As it was pushed, it became stronger. As it became stronger, it grew. Bones became thicker, muscles became harder, height increased. The physical difference between the descendants of Qabil living in the plains and the community of Sheeth,
it does not soften, it hardens. And over time, as generations passed and conditions changed, human height decreased, lifespan became shorter, strength weakened. Today, an average human would look weak compared to those first generations. The age of giants has passed, but its traces still remain. And just like their height, the lifespans of these giant people were also very long. It is narrated that Sheeth alayhi salam lived for 912 years. In some sources, this number reaches 950. For us, this is almost impossible to understand. Today, a person living to 100 is considered rare, but at that time, it was normal. Adam alayhi salam lived close to 1,000 years. Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, all of them walked on this earth for hundreds of years. Long life was not just a privilege, it was a natural reality of that time. And this period had other interesting mysteries. For example, alchemy. In traditional narrations and in the tradition of hidden knowledge in Islam, an interesting claim is repeated. Sheeth alayhi salam was the first human to understand the secrets of metals. He knew how to separate gold from silver. He understood how metals mix with each other. He understood the language of elements, meaning the inner order of matter.
About the nature of matter and the universe, this knowledge did not disappear. It was passed from generation to generation, sometimes openly, sometimes in secret. And centuries later, when Jabir bin Hayyan systematized chemistry as a science during the golden age of Islamic civilization, he also knew that these roots went back much further. Every science has a beginning. According to narrations, the beginning of the science of matter was in that burning fire, where metal was shaped by the hands of Sheeth alayhi salam. But why and how did Prophet Sheeth have this knowledge? To answer this question, we need to look at the time before Sheeth. The journey of humanity began a very long time ago, with the first humans on Earth, Hawa and Adam alayhi salam, and the generations coming from them continued to grow. Hawa gave birth 20 times, and in each birth she brought twins into the world. But between these births, a tragedy happened that filled Adam alayhi salam and Hawa with deep sorrow. A conflict broke out between their two sons, Qabil and Qabil. Qabil and Qabil were born together with their twin sisters. When the twins reached adulthood, by the command of Allah, Adam alayhi salam married Qabil to Qabil's twin sister, and Qabil to Habil's twin sister. But this did not please Qabil, because he thought his own twin sister was more beautiful and wanted to marry her. Jealousy slowly grew inside him. Even though his father Adam alayhi salam conveyed the command of Allah, Qabil did not want to accept this decision. Over time, the anger he felt toward his brother Qabil led to a series of unthinkable actions. It's him to commit the first murder in human history. Qabil trapped his brother Qabil in a lonely place and struck him, taking his life. This was the first bloodshed on earth by humankind. The death of Qabil caused an indescribable pain for Adam alayhi salam and Hawa. After Qabil's death, they grieved for many years, until one day, Allah sent them a gift of comfort. And right in the middle of this darkness, something unexpected happened. Our mother Hawa became pregnant again, but this time, everything was different. Before, in every birth, twins would be born, one male, one female. This was the first system Allah placed for the growth of humanity. But this time, Allah willed something different. Only one child was born, a boy, alone, without a twin. This itself was a sign. This was not an ordinary birth. It was as if Allah was declaring from the very moment of birth that this child was not ordinary. When Adam alayhi salam held the newborn in his arms, he felt something. A divine calm filled his heart. He looked at the baby's face and remembered Qabil. But this time, not with pain, but with hope. Allah had informed him this child would take the place of Qabil, and he gave him a name, Sheeth.
Ambition? He chose to share. When anger rose, he searched for calm. In disagreement, he looked for justice. And most importantly, he lived every sajda with deep feeling. Adam alayhi salam saw this with a spiritual vision given by Allah. One day he called him. He looked at him for a long time, and then he spoke as if handing over a heavy trust. My son, this trust is now yours. Allah has chosen you as a prophet. Sheeth alayhi salam lowered his head. This is only possible with the help of my Rabb. This was not a coincidence. That light was already with him from birth. And so, the second prophet in human history was chosen, and he also became the first prophet born on earth. and his father began to pass special knowledge and secrets to him. At night, when the stars appeared, father and son would sit side by side. Adam alayhi salam would speak. Sheeth alayhi salam would listen for hours, sometimes until morning. This was not ordinary teaching. It was a transfer that could not be fully taught in any school or contained in any book, because what Adam alayhi salam told were things he had lived. He had seen them with his eyes. He had touched them with his hands. He had felt them with his heart. He would speak about paradise, the trees there, the light there, the peace there. While listening, Sheeth alayhi salam would narrow his eyes, as if trying to see that light himself. And sometimes, Adam alayhi salam's voice would become soft while speaking, because paradise was both his most beautiful memory and his deepest longing. Then he would speak about Shaytan. My son, this is our clear enemy. He was arrogant and refused to make sajda to us. He swore to remove us from paradise, and he is loyal to that promise. Know his voice, know his ways.
Who listen carefully can hear it. It is narrated that Sheeth alayhi salam did not learn only worship. He also learned astronomy, medicine, mathematics, agriculture, and architecture. It is even said that Allah informed him about the flood of Nuh in the future. His name appears even in ancient Greece, in Egypt, in esoteric teachings, and in some hidden symbolisms. The Sabians call him Shitu in their language and accept him as one of the greatest prophets. The transition from a nomadic and scattered life to an organized and settled civilization would happen with Sheeth alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam also taught him how to convey words, how to speak to people, how to protect the weak, how to keep justice standing, because he knew one day he would not be there. And when that day came, whether what he taught would survive or disappear depended only on this son. Those night conversations between father and son were the longest and quietest will in human history. But somewhere, evil was growing. The wicked would become stronger, and when the time came, they would begin to act. Qabil, the first killer on Earth, had fled after killing Habil. His brother's blood was on his hands.
Harsh climate of the mountains, rocky paths, limited resources, but there was peace in their hearts. The day began with the name of Allah, and the night ended with gratitude. Adam alayhi salam had seen this separation, and long before he had set a rule, clear, firm, unquestioned. The descendants of Qabil would not mix with the descendants of Qabil. This rule sounded simple, but behind it was deep wisdom. In the line of Qabil, Allah had been forgotten. To get close to them meant to get close to that forgetting. Faith does not always disappear through big attacks. Sometimes it fades through small contact, slowly, without being noticed. The two communities were no longer only physically separate, but also spiritually in different worlds. Sheeth alayhi salam saw these two worlds, and he knew their world had to be protected. For a long time, the people of Sheeth alayhi salam gave importance to worship and protected their faith. They lived in the mountains, a simple but pure life. Sometimes they looked from afar at the wealth, entertainment, and opportunities growing among the descendants of Qabil in the plains. But when they looked, they returned, because their prophet had taught them. Brightness is not proof of truth. But how long could this rule be kept? Generations were passing, new people were growing, and each new generation grew not only with rules, but with questions. Why can we not mix? What is there in those people? The world became truly alone for the first time. People were no longer beside a prophet receiving direct revelation. The seeing eye was gone. The hearing ear had become silent. Truth would now be carried through narration, and this was very dangerous, because words change as they pass from person to person. They are reduced, they are added to, and over time, the truth can be distorted. At this point, Allah did not leave humanity without guidance. He gave Sheeth alayhi salam a great trust. 50 pages. This was not ordinary knowledge. This was the first written revelation in human history. Now, truth would be protected not only through speech, but also through writing. what was inside these pages. Not only worship, life itself. How a society should be governed, how justice should be established, how disagreements between people should be resolved. This was very important because humanity was now meeting an organized system for the first time. Sheeth alayhi salam did not only read these pages, he lived them, and he made people live by them. When he spoke, people did not only listen, they understood. But far away in the valleys, something else was growing. As knowledge was being written down, sin was quietly taking root. And very soon, these two would meet. And Shaytan made his first great plan. He took the form of a human, a handsome young man, someone who inspired trust, someone who raised no suspicion, and he mixed among the people living in the valley. He went to a blacksmith. "Take me as an apprentice," he said, and he began to work there. Days passed. No one suspected him because he was patient. Then he did something very small, but this small thing changed human history. He took iron, he shaped it, and he made a sound. A different sound. A sound never heard before. People turned. They came closer. They became curious.
About this topic, its title is Music is Not Haram, but how those who want can watch it to learn more. If we return to that time, at the beginning, these sounds were only curiosity. What is this sound? People gathered, they listened, and for the first time, a different feeling formed in their hearts. This feeling was neither fear nor peace. It was something that distracted. Shaytan, in human form, continued to play the instruments he made. People wanted to listen again and again because these sounds were pulling them in. Over time, they did not only listen, they began to move. Their bodies followed the rhythm. This was something never experienced before. And then, one day they decided, today we will gather. Today we will have fun. The first collective entertainment began. The first gathering night started. People came. They listened. They laughed. And in that moment, no one realized something was decreasing. Worship began to be delayed. Dhikr became less. Remembering became harder. Because the heart was now filled with something else. This was not just music. This was the slow erasing of memory. Shaytan was not rushing. He did not teach sin all at once. First, he made them get used to it. Then he made it normal. Then he made it necessary. And
with no easy return, the young people from the mountains may not have stayed in the valley, but what they saw there returned with them, into their minds, into their hearts, into their desires. There is something there, they said. It cannot be explained. It must be experienced. And so, the first invitation began. Those who went told others. Those who told increased. Curiosity was contagious. Each time, more people went down. Each time they came closer. And after a point, just looking was no longer enough. The music was playing. People were enjoying. The women were decorated. And this environment was awakening feelings inside people. This was exactly what Shaytan wanted. Because he knew sin does not begin all at once. It begins step by step. First the eyes, then the heart, then the body. And in the end, it happened. For the first time in human history, haram relationships began. First in the community of Qabil, and then in the community of Qabil and Sheeth alayhi salam. When morning came, some returned to the mountains, but none of them were the same. Their eyes had changed. Their hearts had become heavy. Worship felt difficult. Dhikr no longer gave the same sweetness. Because when a person tastes something, it becomes hard to return to the old state. Sheeth alayhi salam saw this. He warned them again and again. some hearts had already begun to slip. And now, this was not just an individual mistake. This was the beginning of a change in whole.
Returned, but most could not. One morning, there was a different feeling in the mountains. Tense, heavy, as if even nature knew something was coming. News was arriving from the plains. The descendants of Qabil had grown over generations. They had increased, spread, and become stronger. And with that strength, something new had grown inside them. Pride. They were no longer only corrupting among themselves. They were looking at the mountain, and they were looking at the people of the mountain with anger. Why anger? Because the people of the mountain were judging them. Maybe not with words, but with their existence, with their simple lives, with their pure hearts, with their connection to Allah. And a person hates a mirror that reflects their ugliness. A group from the descendants of Qabil began to move. They climbed toward the mountain. They had weapons, stones, sticks, sharp pieces of iron. Their intention was clear. They would either make the people of the mountain join them or destroy them. When Sheeth alayhi salam heard the news, this may have been what he expected, or maybe not. But it would be wrong to say he was unprepared, because a prophet is never truly unprepared. Sheeth alayhi salam made a decision. He would not run. He would not surrender. He would defend his people. According to narrations, Sheeth alayhi salam was the first prophet to use a sword. When you think about this, it creates a strange feeling, because until that time, prophethood was lived through calling, teaching, and patience, through words, through example. But now, words were not enough. There was no one on the other side who would listen. Sheeth alayhi salam took up the sword, and the first armed defense in human history began. This was not a war for land.
Were still there. They were growing. They were becoming stronger. Sheeth alayhi salam put down his sword and returned to his people. He treated the wounded. He gave rest to the tired. He comforted the fearful, because a prophet is not only a leader on the battlefield. The real leadership begins after the battle. That night, fires were lit on the mountain. People sat together. Sheeth alayhi salam spoke. Do not forget this day. Allah protected us. But the protection of Allah comes through our own will. As long as we stay on the mountain, as long as we protect the trust, Allah will be with us. That night, the mountain was silent. But within that silence, Sheeth alayhi salam knew his life was coming to an end. His time was near. And before he left, the most important task was still in front of him: to pass on the trust. 912 years. Think about this number. Today, a human lives 70, 80, maybe 100 years. Sheeth alayhi salam lived more than 10 times that. He saw generations. He saw the children of his children's children. He personally witnessed how humanity changed, how it grew, how it went astray, and how it held on. He spent...
Alayhi salam gave to me. I have given to you. You must pass this to your children. Do not break this chain. Because when this chain is broken, a person remains in darkness, and a person in darkness runs toward every light he sees. Every sin is a path that can lead to kufr. When you stay away from sin, you protect your iman. Even if you fall into sin, make tawbah immediately and follow it with worship and sadaqah. There is no God but Allah, and Sheeth alayhi salam gave his final breath. A deep sorrow covered the mountain, but there was also a strange peace, because he was gone. But what he left remained. Enosh buried him, according to narrations in Mecca, at the foot of Mount Abu Qubais, next to his father and mother. After him came Enosh, then Kenan, then Mahalil, then Yared. Each one carried the trust they received from the one before. The truth did not change, only the voices changed.
The same call was repeated in different languages. And soon, one of the brightest links in that chain would come. Idris alayhi salam. He would perfect the writing that Sheeth alayhi salam began. He would deepen the knowledge of the heavens that Sheeth alayhi salam taught. Sheeth alayhi salam was gone, but the mark of that quiet, humble prophet on the top of the mountain remained in the heart of humanity without being erased. We will make our video about Idris alayhi salam when this video reaches 5,000 likes. And if you subscribe to the channel, you will not miss that video. Today, thousands of years have passed. Mountains have changed. Valleys have changed. The language of people has changed. Their clothing has changed. The cities they live in have changed. But the strategy of Iblis has not changed. And the weak points of humans have not changed. The story of Sheeth alayhi salam is not a tale left in the past. This story is still alive today. Now, you will listen to the lessons from the story of Sheeth alayhi salam that speak to today. First lesson.
Sheeth alayhi salam warned his people, do not mix with the descendants of Qabil. This was not a claim of superiority. It was a call to protect value. Look at the people around you today. Do they bring you closer to Allah or take you away? When different values come together, most of the time, the higher one is pulled down. Fourth lesson. Forgetting is the greatest enemy. Sheeth alayhi salam told the same message again and again without getting tired, without stopping, as if telling it for the first time every time, because humans forget even what they know, especially if they do not live it. When was the last time you truly thought about Allah? When was the last time you took accountability seriously? Fifth lesson. The most valuable inheritance is faith. You can leave a house, it can be destroyed. You can leave wealth, it can be finished. You can leave money, it disappears. But if you leave a heart that knows Allah, that heart keeps you alive even after you are gone. Every dua coming from that heart becomes a provision that reaches you. Sixth lesson. Being chosen is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. Sheeth alayhi salam was chosen, but this did not make his life easier. It increased his burden. For 912 years, he carried that responsibility. He never left it. You have also been chosen for things in your life: a family, an opportunity, knowledge, responsibility. Ask yourself, what does this being chosen require from me? And now we look back. This chain started with Adam alayhi salam. Sheeth alayhi salam carried it. Idris alayhi salam advanced it. Nuh alayhi salam continued it. Ibrahim alayhi salam deepened it. And finally, it was completed with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with an unchanging message, with a truth that was not corrupted. The same